Hello and welcome to another edition of AttractWell Office Hours. I'm Coach Ashley, joined today by founder of AttractWell, Greg Kilwine. Hey, Greg.
Hey, everyone. Really glad you're here today.
We are so excited to have you here today. Bear with me, lozenge in my mouth, voice is a little shaky today, but we've got some exciting stuff to share with you. We're going to be talking about how we automate our podcast bookings today. If you are somebody that doesn't have a podcast, but you do want to have a simplified and easy intake process for your clients, and maybe somebody decides to book with you and maybe purchase a series of calls with you or something like that, and you maybe have multiple files that you want to obtain from them before you move forward, this is going to be a great thing for you to check out as well. So go ahead, head into the chat. Let us know where in the world you are. We're excited to have you here today. We are going to be getting into some show and tell, and I've got some slides prepared. And we also have a really exciting set of updates to share with you today. So with that said, Greg and I are going to pop out a video. We'll come back here in just a little bit. And I'm going to share with you our agenda here today. So first things first, welcome. We are so excited to have you. We are live every Thursday at 2 p.m. Eastern US time, save for any federal holidays here in the United States. This week on Office Hours, like promised, we are talking about simplifying, automating, creating systems and workflows around how we book podcast guests, or like I mentioned, this is flexible and something that you can use for your client intake. We are so thrilled to be sharing this with you today. So today, and I actually don't have this written down, we're going to talk about the gorgeous elephant in the room that is the new AttractWell Experience. And so Greg is going to, before we get into today's content, Greg is going to get in and actually show us some of those incredible updates and what that looks like, some things that you may have already been delighted by when you discovered them. And of course, there may be some hidden gems there you didn't know about. But after we get through that, we're going to talk about how we automate our intake for podcast guests or new clients, our systems and workflows. And then, of course, as always, we'll get into live help and Q&A. So if you have not done so already, obviously, if you're here with us live on Zoom, we welcome you and we're so excited to have you. If you're watching this in our Facebook group, or if you happen to see this later as a recording and you'd like to join us live on a call like this, you can go to attractwell.com/office hours to sign up to be on these live calls on Thursdays. And if you'd like to work together live, you can go to attractwell.com/work review and set aside dedicated time on a call like this one to work on whatever project you have in mind. And if you'd like something done for you, you can go to attractwell.com/concierge to meet our team and request a quote for your project. Greg, I haven't actually made you a co-host, so let me go ahead and do that for you so you can take over the share here and show us the awesome stuff you've been hard at work in creating in AttractWell.
Awesome. Thanks, Ashley. Yeah, so if you've been logged into AttractWell at all this week after Monday, probably noticed some exciting changes here, a different look and feel and capabilities here that the system has. So I'm going to give you a tour of most of the highlights. There are lots of other changes. This is a pretty extensive, call it a remodel, if you will, but update, kind of modernizing everything and making, improving usability and navigation and workflow and all that. So first thing you probably notice is the menu looks a little bit different. At first glance, the system looks pretty similar, but the menu here is a little bit different in that it's got collapsible sections now. So you don't have to look at everything all at once. Previously, the menu was always open, but right now you can expand and collapse each of these sections. And it will remember that from screen to screen, as well as if you have a larger menu and it's scrolled down a little bit, it will also remember your position and kind of pin that. Whereas previously you had to scroll the whole page. Now you can scroll like the menu separately from the page that you're working on, which is also a nice little improvement there. The other neat thing you can do here is you can collapse the menu. So with this little button, it'll shrink it over there. And so if you have a little bit smaller of a screen, or you just want to maximize your workspace and minimize your distractions, click that, it'll shrink away, and you can always get it back just by clicking, and then it will pop up again. So you can toggle back and forth and play with the animation like I do sometimes, but that's so that's the menu. The other kind of major change you probably noticed is there's a couple more sections here, and we moved a few things around. So store used to be a menu item under website, And if you're not familiar, the store is our, kind of an e-commerce add-on, if you will. I mean, you can take payments for basically anything you want to already with AttractWell without the store, but the store adds that more traditional add to cart and checkout shopping experience. They browse your products, pick quantities, all that kind of stuff. So that is it's a separate add-on. You can learn more about it if you don't have it by clicking on any one of these. But this now has been expanded down into its own menu item because it is so in depth, and just to draw, separate a little bit better organization. The other new category here, the menu header, is this content library. Videos, files, and images used to be their own links under the website menu. This makes them available with a single click right from the menu. You can jump immediately to them without having to go through another submenu. And then we've moved save replies, which used to be under contacts settings, and then resource bundles, which used to be website, also under the content library, kind of housing everything content, or most everything content related in your account in one place. The other change you probably noticed here is the blog has been moved. Used to be combined with the Zoom and events. Now it's pulled up under website, under blog post at the bottom. The result is there might be a couple more menu categories here, but the ones that are there, it's a much simpler list of features than and links. It's a little bit easier, I think, to understand and to organize, or to understand the organization. Now this is on a computer. If you have a phone, if you're looking at this on a mobile browser, this doesn't affect the app. This menu is different on the app because the app has its own menu. But if you're on the mobile browser, the menu now is this little triple bar icon. You can tap on that. It slides out from the right. It's the same menu. You can expand it and collapse it just like that. It's got a larger font for easier tapping when you're on your phone. Then larger font than the other one. But yeah, so that's the mobile menu, or it's been updated as well. Another thing you might see here is there used to be the big help icon down here in the corner that would kind of pop up every time you clicked. Well, now it's in the same spot every time instead of this get help button here. Identical, exactly the same thing as it was before. It's just been shrunken a little bit and kind of moved up here. And then you probably notice that if you have a profile photo loaded, that will show up here in the upper right-hand corner under your user menu. And then we also have added some menu items related to your account, like contact info, photo and story, payment. If you got any virtual assistants or other team members who need to log into your AttractWell account, and then other account settings here, as well as logging out. So we tucked all those common items up under there to make it a little bit easier to navigate to some of those. Now, another advantage of this. So the other thing we did, and you probably noticed this if you have a bigger screen, the system now takes up and uses your whole screen. It doesn't leave all that white space on the side. And where you can mostly see this would be in larger lists. So like if we go here, I think this account has some pages. You can see now this is like stacked into 2 columns. Like if I shrink it down a little bit, it will show up under 1 column. But depending on your screen size, it's going to kick around. And if you have a really big screen, let me take this out really far. This might be kind of tiny when you're watching, but it'll go to 3 columns, 4 columns, whatever. So if you have a really large screen, the system will take advantage of that. And that's not just in this page list here, but it goes in the contact manager, basically anywhere that there's content like this that makes sense to be displayed in this grid format. So same with contacts. If I pull that out and make it wide, you'll see that it goes to 4 columns as well. So let me go back here. There are also some new getting started screens. If you're relatively new, I think this might not. Yeah, here we go. Okay. So there are some screens that look kind of like this throughout the system. So if you haven't used a feature before, there'll be a nice little message here that shows or sort of identifies what it is that the feature does and kind of the benefits of it, help you shorten the learning curve, as well as gives you a button to do kind of the most common action there, like in this case, writing a message. So you may see these screens sprinkled throughout if you have nothing in a specific spot, like if you haven't made a page before, or you haven't made a blog post before, you'll see something like this instead of just a blank list, kind of improving that experience there as well. Another item here, I'll show you with like this is on a, this is a contact screen, but this is also available pretty much anywhere where there's multiple pages. the paginator is now available on the bottom all the time. So you don't have to, previously used to have to scroll all the way to the bottom of the list to get to the paginator, but now it's pinned on the bottom of the screen to make it easier to jump around from page to page when you're doing work and, wherever it is, if it's anywhere that there's a page, it's going to be pinned on the bottom like that to make it a little bit easier to navigate. The other thing you may have noticed is the buttons now, or at least on the desktop, they're similar on mobile, but they're small, a little bit different. But all these common actions up here, all the buttons that used to be kind of sprinkled here and there, depending on what screen you were on, are now in a consistent spot here, especially on the computer, like add, edit, deleted pages. And this sort is on here as well. This is under the contact manager. This is anywhere, anywhere there was a sort, it is now tucked up here on this menu to make it a little bit easier to find, and because it's going to be in a consistent spot every time here too. There is another neat little feature too with the navigation. So let me show you that with, for example, campaigns. So a lot of times, this is a common feature like on mobile apps that you'll see where, Facebook, for example, you go click on your post, you go back, there's like a little back arrow that will show up. Well, now, so I'm on campaigns. If I click on one of these, you'll see a little back arrow shows up next to the name of the page. And that will just always take you back to the previous screen that you were at related to whatever you're working on. And likewise, even if I dive in here to this message, the back arrow turns into the click, so you can take it back to the previous step that you were on, which is the list of messages in that campaign. So that's a nice, and that's, throughout the system, anywhere that you go in, store, editing, save replies, anything really that has multiple steps. This little arrow here is for consistent navigation, so you can get around easily enough without having, you can always use the browser back button too, but this is a way to go to the previous screen in a consistent order as well. Now, another nice addition here this is, I happen to be on a screen that has it, but anywhere that you see saved replies for using saved replies, or anywhere you see automations for using them, there's a little find box in here now. So under like save replies, previously you had to just scroll, it was just a big list, but like if I type in, I don't know, blog, for example, it'll narrow it down to all of my saved replies that have the word blog in them. Or similarly with automations, if I type in like workshop, it'll narrow it down automatically for you so you can quickly find what you're looking for, especially as lists grow, which they often do as you get in and use the system more and more, just to make it easier to find where things are. Those are kind of the main like navigational look and feel highlights. There were a couple of other feature additions, or I should say improvements, that are related to campaigns that I want to show you. And there's another one for classes that got its way in there as well. So when you're editing campaigns, there's been a couple changes here. When you're, actually, I was already on the screen. If you go in, when you're editing a message, there's now, so the send preview button is up here on top instead of, I think it was tucked up down under this message body, but that's now a button on the top. But you can also, when you're editing a message, now you can change the day that the message sends on, as well as whether it sends by like email or text, and if you have a specific time of day that you'd like to send it at as well. Or if this happens to be a day zero message, you can choose how many minutes delay that it is. So that's something you previously couldn't do on this screen. You had to go back to the list. You were only able to do that over here on the list, and you still can. You can still change those days just to kind of, because it's helpful sometimes when you see all the messages to choose the day. But you can also do that when you're editing a message too, just to help improve the navigation. And the other thing we have here too, when you're editing a message, oftentimes if you're like editing a campaign and you want to go through, you can click the go to message button. This one actually only has one. Let me pick a campaign that has more than one message. Here we go. And then I'll click into one of these, and let's say I can, if I could edit it, save it. Okay, now I want to go over to another one. I can jump right over to the other one. Or if I want to add another one, I can just hit add, and then it'll add a new message right to that campaign, and then tack it on the end, and you're good to go. So that's some nice improvements in the campaigns. And then one other improvement I'd like to highlight under the it's under member area classes here. Now on any of the classes that you have, they'll show you what, I mean, this used to be there. It used to show the vault that it was in, but now also will give you a button to view the class in that vault. If it is in more than one vault, and I don't think this demo account has that, but if it is in more than one vault, it will list them and you can click on it to view that class in that vault. And you can even add it to another vault right from here without having to go over to the vault screen. So you can click on add to a vault, pick your vault. If you have room for more vaults, you can actually just create a new vault right away, which is really handy when you've just created a class and you just want to get it out there. You can just pop it into a vault quick, create it, and then you have essentially a shareable link that you can use to give to people. And then when you're editing the class, the other place is you can actually like add and remove vaults down here as well. So yeah, so those are the highlights. I mean, there's lots of other tidying up and just sort of the look and feel improvements, grouping things more appropriately, just cleaning things up and making it a little bit more user friendly and easier to navigate. So hopefully you find these changes useful. If you ever have any questions, comments, whatever, certainly reach out to support. We'll be happy to reply, and we hope you find these changes useful.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Greg. And I hope you guys dig in and discover more, because that really is just an overview of all of the awesome things that you can now discover in the new user experience with AttractWell. So we're so excited to have you check that out. Now let's get into today's training, today's content. Let me know in the chat, do you host interviews for your content, whether that be for your podcast, maybe a YouTube channel, maybe for your blog, right? What does that look like for you? I know that there are at least several of you that I know 100% for sure are doing that currently, but you may be in the process of kind of dreaming up what your podcast looks like. And if having an interview format is something that you want to focus on, this is going to be a really helpful training for you. So for those of you who do interviews, what does booking look like for you? What does that process look like for you? Or maybe how has it evolved? I've actually seen this really complicated and sort of broken up into lots of different pieces, where you have to actually manually make sure you're getting all of the things that you need. And obviously, when you're manually caused to do something, then you have a higher chance of something falling through the cracks, right? So whether you've got, a Google form here or a type form over here, information being sent into this place, that place, and the other, it can get a little tricky, right? And again, make sure, stay tuned for those of you who don't have an interview format, but want a simplified way of gathering client information. So after someone pays for maybe a coaching call series with you, making sure you obtain maybe additional informations, maybe written agreements, signed things, or stuff that otherwise would need to be submitted via email, you're going to want to check this out. So what's needed for the system, starting with the podcast booking scenario, is first, we're going to need a bio, right? So we need to be able to introduce our person in the interview. And then, of course, we need to have our show notes or our description if it's YouTube. We need to, of course, as well, to have the desired topic. What is the keyword focus here for this featured guest? What is it that they specifically prefer to talk about? What does that look like for them? Are there any primary talking points? Is there sort of a framework? If you've got somebody who is a subject matter expert, they probably have all of this pretty well figured out. If you're speaking to somebody who hasn't been interviewed very often, then there may be some, additional consideration you put into gathering information at this point. And then ultimately, we need to know where to send people. So they may prefer for folks to go to their Instagram or to a specific link on their website, whatever that might look like. You want to make sure that you know where you want to send people who are listening and want to learn more about this person. And of course, any copy that needs to be included about where we're sending them, right? So is it basically simple sending them to follow them on their Instagram handle, or are we actually letting them know that they're giving away a free such and such that's on their website? Here's the link, right? Or link in the show notes. So we want to gather that information. We also will often need a photo or logo if they represent a business, if needed, for promotional assets. So this is going to be maybe for individual episode images, for your promotions on social media, for emails that you'll send out, any co-promotion, etc. And then, of course, finally, we need a date and time because we need to record our interview. All right, so this is everything that we need to gather. If there's something that you feel is missing, and this is something that you do, definitely chime in the chat and we can make sure that we factor this in to how we kind of break this down. All right, so our order of operations here, we're going to build this in AttractWell. First things first, we want to be clear on what our questions are. So what are those things that we need to know or need to obtain from our person? Because we're going to be using a booking form. So that's a page with a form on it in AttractWell to gather our basic information. Now, as of the time we're filming right now, we cannot gather files from a form, but we do have a way to follow up and make this automated so that you can still obtain any form type any downloadable type information. So anything that you want to ask. So this is going to be, bio information, those links, more or less the things that I just went over in that list there. So what are the questions that you want to ask or the fields that you want to require input for? Now, if you don't have a booking page yet in your AttractWell account, make one. So this is basically going to entail taking the embeddable booking form from your favorite calendar software and popping that into a page in AttractWell so that the experience is 100% on your website. Then we're going to create something called a follow-up plan. Now, a follow-up plan, which is different from a campaign, a follow-up plan is an internal prompt. So this is going to be a reminder or a to-do for you to take action on that only you can see that's associated with the person who filled out this form. Okay, so we're going to create a follow-up plan that reminds us to just double check and make sure that this person has booked a date and sent their photo over, if we've requested it, within 2 to 3 days. This is an optional step, but it's one that I highly recommend because you don't want to find yourself right before production needing to chase someone down for the information that you need from them, or heaven forbid, for whatever reason, maybe in the case of a new client, they've purchased something from you, but they haven't booked yet. You want to make sure they're getting what they came for, right? So give yourself an ability to be automatically reminded within, 48 to, 36, 72 hours, something like that. Just follow up a few days later so that that person can be reminded if they have not yet taken these 2 important steps. We're then going to create an automation in AttractWell. That automation is going to apply this follow-up plan. We'll then create a campaign with a single message. Day 0, one message sends right away. It's going to thank them for signing up, and it's going to tell them to reply to the email to send their photo. So we are going to be prompting them right away, send this to me. And then we're going to have them click a link in the email if they haven't done so already to book their desired date and time for their interview. And then finally, we build the page with the intake form using the settings button and then finding the leads section in the page settings. In this same section, we will attach our automation that we've created. That's the one that applies our follow-up plan. The campaign that we've created that tells them to send the email, to reply to the email and send their photo, as well as to complete their booking if they haven't done so. Right? And then you can choose to either redirect them to the booking page right away or to a confirmation page that says, go check your email, your choice. All right. So here's an example. This is Sonia's actual real life example. Sonia has the College and Career Ready podcast. We're going to bring her out to chat here in just a bit as well. She's doing amazing things on her AttractWell site. So you're going to create a booking page, and this is incredibly simple. You can create a section on a new page that is just a single section, no columns, or rather one column, no header. And then you just pretend that you are pasting a video, literally act like it's a video, and you take the embed code from your calendar provider and you just pop that in as though you're embedding a video, and it'll populate just like this. It's super simple. Then you create a follow-up plan, and you'll see this is on day 2. So this is 48 hours after they have signed up on the site. We are going to check to see if the photo was received and a call was booked. We're then going to create an automation in AttractWell that applies that follow-up plan that we've just created. Again, these are super simple. It will take you less than 5 minutes, way less than 5 minutes to get those two things done. And then finally, we'll create our short campaign. This is an example of what Sonia has created. It is sent via email right away, and it's thanking them for completing the form. She indicates here that she's going to be sending a separate follow-up email with more information, as well as a guide to follow. So Sonia actually interviews a fair number of people who are not seasoned at being interviewed, right? So she probably has some guidelines and best practices that she sends over separately. And then, of course, she's reminding them, don't forget to hit reply and send me your photo. And because she's doing college and career ready is her topic, if it's a student, then she might be receiving their resume. Now, the page that we create is literally this simple. It is a one section page with a no column. I keep saying no column, one column and no header. And we're putting form in brackets here. And the reason why we're doing that is we're going to click the settings button and we'll see that up here in the very top where it says lead capture form shows, we're going to put on the page. And it actually reminds us right underneath it to add the tag form inside of brackets where you want the form to appear. Now here she has modified the lead capture headline, right? So this is our guest booking form. We've got the button says I'm ready to schedule our recording date. And then she is giving them a call to action here with the lead capture message. Complete our guest form by followed by scheduling a date for our recording. Looking forward to our recording date. In the next section, she's going to put all of the questions that she wants to ask them. And of course, you can modify. Some of these are multiple choice. Some of them are single choice, and some of them are short or long text. So you have the ability to modify those. And then finally, at the bottom of our settings here, we're attaching the campaign that we've created. We have applied a tag. So she's using podcast. We are running this automation, which is going to remind her 48 hours later to make sure we've gotten that photo and that they have booked a call. And then she's choosing to send them straight to the call booking. So that's it. Once you've got it set up, we're going to test the funnel. So here's what I did. This is the published form. It's very simple. It's very clean. Obviously, I've put in this as a test all over it because this is not real, but this is her actual form. So we filled this out. And I want you to note that down here at the bottom, she is indicating that she wants a photo, that they agree that it will be used in posts, and that they are going to need to be sending that, right? And it says, yes, I will send it shortly. And she's going to be reminding them in that campaign, remember? So it is helpful if there's something that you need from them prior to whatever that next step is, right? So that call together where you're going to be recording, or if you were to create something similar to this for a client intake, then whatever you know you need to get from them prior to your call, you can indicate on this form and have them agree that they will participate in that next step before they're able to move ahead. Here again, we've got some multiple choice. She's choosing to ask for a mailing address, to send a thank you, which is great. And then there are agree or disagree here for use in marketing material. You get to really choose exactly how you want something like this set up. I just think she's made such a phenomenal example here for you guys to follow. This is the published call booking page that will show up after someone completes that form. They click that button to say, I'm ready to schedule. They're sent here next to schedule. And then an email is sent that thanks me for completing the form. And just like you saw, she said she's going to send me another email here in a bit about the guideline for recording and reminding me to send my resume or photo, right? So we've got that reminder here. And then here's what happens inside of Sonia's system when someone fills out the form. You can see here I am, and I'm tagged with pod guest. That background information here does populate, but importantly, you can actually see it in full under past actions, right? So podcast guest form, that's the name of the page where I filled this out, and that's what the note says. And so she can actually click it to open it up and see all of my answers. right? So this becomes something that is useful for maybe, your notes for during your interview, for instance. You can pull those up and they're right there. And then finally, we've got a to-do here that's going to pop up a couple days later. That's going to remind us to make sure that that photo was received and that I was booked, that I'm on the calendar. All right. So when you've tested your funnel, you're going to see all of those things on the test email that are the test account that you have used. So your contact in AttractWell is going to have all of this information if we've set it up correctly. And so now this is something that you can use over and over and over again in perpetuity. If you need to make any modifications, you would obviously do any of those to the email that you send, and of course to the intake form, which is that page that had all of the questions. And that's basically it. You now have a system that is going to kind of place a net underneath the data collecting exercise that you are a part of here, which includes getting their bio and information, but as well as downloading any files that they need to send you, which in Sonia's case might be an image as well as maybe a resume. All right, so you can follow a similar setup for a simple client intake system, but you're just going to make the following changes to the system that I've outlined. So for a client intake system, we're going to need our client intake questions, right? So depending on how you work with clients, there's any number of different questions that you might personally like to ask or use when you are working with a new client. Obviously, we need payment set up. We need to be clear on any additional forms or agreements that need to be emailed to us separately, any files that we are requesting. And then, of course, we're going to have them book the first call with you. So the way that you would set this up in AttractWell is first, just as we did before, make sure you're clear on the questions or other required fields that are going to be in your booking form. So this is every question you're going to ask of that client, including questions, and this is the best practice, that indicate that you are going to be asking them separately to respond to email and send you a file. Okay, make sure you've got all of that worked out. And again, if you don't have a booking page yet, make one. Create a follow-up plan that reminds you to check in, make sure that client has booked a date and sent back whatever forms you requested within 2 to 3 days. Have an automation set up that applies that follow-up plan. Create a campaign with that single message that shares the forms, so you can attach those files to the message that goes out. So if you need them to send it, you need them to print out, fill out, upload, and email back to you 3 forms, you can attach all of those 3 forms to that email, have them do that. And of course, the email is reminding them to get those things done. You could also, of course, welcome them, set expectations, etc., and let them know that they need to reply to this email, send back those filled forms, and then click the link that you'll include in email, just in case they haven't done it yet, to book their desired date and time for their first session. You'll then create your page in AttractWell, build out your intake form in the settings leads section. You'll attach your automation and your campaign here, and you'll send them either to your booking or confirmation page after they've registered. And then finally, you will want to make sure, of course, that you do have payment set up for this page, because you want someone to actually purchase before they complete your process and start moving toward your calendar, right? So do make sure that you visit the payments tab in the page settings to set up the payment options for this offer. All right, so let's get into your questions and see any of this that you would like to see in person. And I would also, Sonia, if you are here and still available to chat, if you could raise your hand up and let me know, and we'll bring you out to talk, and we're happy to see if there's any questions that you might have or anything else you would like to share. Hi, welcome.
Ready for me?
Hi, there you are. We can hear you now.
Good. So I'm working on my newsletter. I feel like it's taking me forever to do, or to get into that routine. With the newsletter, I've done a couple of things, and I feel like maybe I'm just doing it too, like I'm working too hard, or because like if I do images and then I send me the test, sometimes the images are bigger or on one side or on the other. So is images always going to be an issue when it comes to newsletters?
So you do have the ability to play around with well, first, I would recommend that if you're going to have a newsletter and you want to include images, that you actually create those a template for yourself using saved replies. And that way you aren't dealing with guesswork on an ongoing basis where you know, the formatting of images and such are concerned. You do have the ability as well, if we go to add a saved reply here, to actually use perhaps one of the templates that we have provided, right? So here's, you know, blank newsletter template 1, 2, 3, 4. And I do believe we actually have, yeah, here's an example of one.
And
this is just,
I do have a newsletter template, but it
okay.
seems like every time I'm editing it, it just never always sends the same every time I do a test on it.
Okay. Is there a particular one, like what's the name of it in your account? We can look at that together and maybe troubleshoot.
Yeah, it's called Pod Newsletter.
Okay.
Podcast Newsletter, I think is what it's called.
Okay. Give me just a second to get in there.
And
is
I
that
don't know if
it's in your saved replies?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yes, it's in my saved replies. And I
Okay.
don't know if maybe taking images is just better. I know I saw your video on deliverability. I don't know what best practice is.
Okay. Okay, so first things first. And this is actually, Greg, I'm curious. This is actually something that seems to be behaving slightly differently since the change. Where this is actually indicating that it is centered. Oh no. Oh, I see what's happening here. All right. So you see this guy here. It says align center, but if you put the cursor next to it, we do want to make sure that it is in fact centered, because this is, I think, intended to be a banner. So that's the first piece. But I guess my question's the same, Greg, because there is a little bit of, I think I was looking at the template that was in the Jane account, and it did look like some of the things were kind of left aligned when they definitely weren't like that in the
Okay.
Yeah, it might be something for us to look into. Okay, so that's centered now. Yeah, tell me a little bit about
the college. Yeah,
this
so
one.
that image, that college, that when I email it to myself, it always puts it on the top and then all the text on the bottom.
Interesting. Okay. I wonder. So let's see if this is displayed in line. Okay, that's good. Let's look at the size. This is another thing to consider.
Okay.
Did you set this
It could
up
be
with
an email. Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it could be the email program too. Like, when there's certain email programs, I mean, email is very difficult to get things to look exactly right. You'd probably, if you really wanted in 2 columns all the time, I would suggest using a table and putting that the college and career ready image in there in a table in the one cell on the left, and then the text on the column on the right. Otherwise, yeah, sometimes email clients like to take a little liberties with the formatting. Not everyone, it probably would look different, you know, in Gmail versus Outlook and others too.
Yeah.
Oh, hey, Greg. Our recipe templates aren't showing up in AttractWell.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
I'll take a look at that.
Yeah, that's actually one that that has that sort of preset. So Greg was talking about a table, and that's right here. So if you go to insert table, it would be this 2-part table here. There's part 1, part 2. And so you could put an image here and then text here. That's certainly an option. But yeah, there is, unfortunately, just because of the way different email clients will display content, we're kind of at the mercy of sort of how they choose to format and what they choose to show. I might try maybe positioning this on the right-hand side if you would prefer, right? So moving it over here. If you don't want it to show up on top, I think that might be part of the challenge that you might be dealing with, is that it likes to stack content sometimes, depending on sort of the way that they receive and display information on different email providers, right? So similar to if you were building a page in AttractWell where you had an image on the left and text on the right, if that were condensed down to mobile view, then the image would be on the top and the text would be on the bottom. However, if you had the text on the left and the image on the right, and that was condensed to mobile view, the text would be visible first, followed by the image. So if you want to 100% have them display next to each other and you want to guarantee that, use a table like what Greg just said. But if you would, in the case of something that's more mobile adapted, you would prefer to have the image show up after they see the text, then you might consider just modifying the where it shows up, right? So on the right versus the left.
Yeah, because sometimes the image will show up like bigger when they email it to me. And then you see that get your early access. Sometimes that doesn't display on my email recipient. It'll just be like blank face.
The button?
Mm-hmm.
Huh.
It could be, again, this is an email program issue. Sometimes they don't display the background colors correctly and the text is white. So it might look blank, even though it's probably there. It's just the text is white.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, it is
Can I
interesting.
change the text color?
Yeah, you can. I mean, you could change it, by doing that as well. You could also go in and edit your button colors under the website menu. I believe you can change or use a different button like that one that's got the dark text. Otherwise, I mean, some people have taken to using, just hit the Canva button, make a little image button and pop it in there too. That works okay as long as the person has their emails or their images turned on in their email. So there's always some little emails way more tricky than it should be actually.
Yeah.
But there are different options.
Yeah, I think that a best practice, generally speaking, if you're wanting to really ensure for stable, readable, effective delivery across all types of devices, is to err on the side of just keeping it simple and centering information. The way that I've seen this done really effectively, certainly have something like this up at the top, but then have this maybe be, a paragraph or, paragraph setting, maybe heading 1, it's centered. This could be an image as well. And then you've got this one and, having this set up so that actually, matter of fact, so this is really just like a logo for the podcast. So maybe even creating something that that's oriented a bit more like this. Basically what I'm saying is building the reading experience as being something that's really like one column, right? As opposed to multiple, because that's where it gets kind of complicated with the different email providers.
Can you see my last message? Because I sent a message. I don't know if you can see it in my contacts messages. And what I did is I just went and cleaned it out and just took a lot of the images. Yeah, that one, first one. But then I had to take like literally all the images out.
Got you. Okay. Yeah, so this is actually an instance where it could be helpful to, have sort of image dividers in there. But did you try for instance, here, let's go back to that saved reply. And actually here, I'm going to make a duplicate of this.
Yeah, because I would need a break. I don't have breaks between content because I didn't know how.
Right. Okay, so here's the one that you had created. Again, I'm going to center this top image. You do have the ability as well. Do make sure that you include alternative text, which you've done. And then you do also have the ability to to size this. And if you were to look up, you could actually just do a search engine search for email header dimensions, and it'll actually give you optimal dimensions to create images. So that's something that you might consider checking out as well. So what I wanted to suggest doing here is, let's go to here we go, monthly newsletter template. So here's this. And so we've got this this opportunity here to, and I guess, Greg, this is what I was kind of calling out here. You see how this is from our built-in template. This is kind of condensed, but like you can also have like this full width, right?
Yeah, I think those original templates actually had a fixed width on there for some reason. You might have to look at updating those.
Okay, yeah, we'll probably
now that the screen's wider.
yeah, for sure. Okay, cool. So, but basically, if you can, you know, maybe for instance, like this would be where you could put your like where you're talking about the podcast episode, right? So that would be like this one here, right? So putting that in here. And then this is where you would put that information. So you can also kind of leverage the built-in templates to give that structure and test something out that looks like this, and see how it looks on your different devices, and maybe sent to a couple of different, like a Gmail versus a Microsoft versus a whatever. Some of these pre-formatted templates that we have here in Saved Replies for newsletters are really worth kind of using as sort of the building blocks and the basis for the newsletter that you build out, especially if you want to have sort of that kind of formatting that you can replicate.
Got it.
And so here's actually, this is the recipe one here that I was referring to. So it's possible that, and I wonder if this will actually let me paste here. No, it did not. Oops. But yeah, essentially what we would be doing here, I'm going to go and grab this from the code view and try that. Okay. All right, let me just grab the code for all of this. All right, I think that's it. Now, if I paste that here, oh, that's not literally not how I do that. Okay, in this edition is where I want to paste this. So let me find that. Okay, perfect. So I'm going to paste it here. There we go. And here we can actually swap out this information. So you're borrowing the same formatting, right? So here we'll copy this, we'll paste it here, swap this out. And this actually looks a bit nicer because you are looking in the same direction as that information, right? And so now that's in that format, right?
Oh, I see. Yeah, I'll give that a try and see if it emails.
Yeah, definitely do. Here, and we'll add that button in here. And yeah, definitely consider maybe turning one of these buttons into a lighter background with like a darker font, just to make sure that for those email providers that are giving some issues with deliverability, it'll still be visible. So yeah, and just make sure that you you know, do the alternative text for the image. And of course, you know, you don't need to have a recipe name here. But then you can, you know, you can kind of repeat what you've got here. But we will
how do I copy that break? You see that line break?
This line break here. Yeah. That's a great question. And let's find out together. So we're going to go here to code view, and actually quick, let me find what's right before it. 2 episodes, or yeah. All right. So I'm going to go look for episodes with a colon. Okay. so that's going to be, I believe, actually,
You're
I'm
looking
not
for the
sure.
border. It's that where it says border
Oh,
right
it's
there.
border. Okay, perfect. All right.
Yeah. This is border bottom. You had it highlighted there a minute ago, like right
Oh,
where
I
you're,
did.
yep,
Oh, this
right
one right
there.
here. Ah,
Yeah, it says
perfect.
border
Okay.
bottom.
Yeah, perfect. Okay. So we're going to
Yeah,
want to
delete.
do this,
Yeah.
right?
Delete. Probably just the H4 to the H4.
Just the H4 to the H4. Okay.
Yeah.
So
I mean, that
we'll
would probably.
copy
Oh, go
that,
ahead.
and then maybe you want to put that here,
Hmm.
and that's going to be, well, where would you like to put it? I'll go ahead and put it there. Maybe rate and
Yeah,
review our
well,
podcast.
yeah. Just as
Okay.
an example.
Okay, perfect. So we'll go into code view, and I'm going to use the search feature, rate and review, and I want to put it right before that.
There,
right.
maybe in the future ways that we can just pop those in a little easier.
100% worthy of being put onto the wish list. Yes.
Oh,
All
there is
right.
an insert horizontal line button in the toolbar. It's
There
under,
is.
what is that called? Under more rich, that third section with the video and such. Yeah, go to the right.
Oh, this one.
That one there. Yep. And there's a little line.
What? I
Yeah.
was today years old, you guys. Okay. Look at. There it is.
Oh, it's very light. Yeah. Okay.
But if you wanted to, you can also, if you know the color, you could change the color. You can actually change the color. If you don't want it to be that gray, you could make it something
Yeah, it's
else.
518492, the teal.
I love it. Let's do it. All right. So I can't select it like text, but it is, Greg, what did you say it's called in the border? Okay. What is it again, Sonia?
518492.
Okay. And then let's go find the other border. And I think there was another one. Yep. Here you go. And another one. There it is. Okay.
Wow.
Oh, look at that.
There you go.
Look at what we did. I love it.
Okay.
I love it. Awesome. All right. So that is a copy. That is your copy. So definitely play around with that, and let us know what you come up with. We're excited to see it.
Good. Thank you.
Of course. Take care. All right. We also have, hold on just a second, and thank you so much for your patience. Let me see. No, I think that was it. So if anybody else has questions, or if there is something that you would like to go over together, I know there was a question about HIPAA compliance and how that information is shared. Greg, can you speak? I know you can speak better to that topic than I can about which features of AttractWell would sort of fit in with HIPAA compliant information collection, if you are someone who is using this as an intake for clients.
Sure. Yeah. So, I mean, as of now, there's only one little portion that can be made HIPAA compliant upon request, which is the sending of the emails itself. Like their email provider has that option. That is something that we can set up if you contact us. There's no extra charge for it at the moment. It is definitely a wish list item we hear from a lot of people about, to make the whole system HIPAA compliant. Maybe someday. That's a long path, but that's something that a lot of people have raised. So we're got it on our wish list for sure.
Yeah. So, and do remember that in the messages that you are sending out from AttractWell and you're requesting information to be sent to you, when they send their emails back to you with their information, it's going to the email address of your choice, right? So do bear in mind sort of what that looks like. So however you would be receiving emails from a client otherwise in a HIPAA compliant situation, just making sure that, however you're receiving files, if that fits how you were doing it previously, all you're doing with the system that I've shared with you today is requesting for them to send that information to your inbox, right? To the one that you designate. All right, Brandon had a question here. For a brand new user, what is the best place to find startup tutorials on what vaults are and setting up landing pages? Yeah, so there's a couple of great places to go. Actually, we'll start with the most important place, but let me hop out of Sonia's account here first before I go and poke around and show you things. 1 second, and I will get logged into the right account. Here we go. All right, so the best place to go if you want to learn about anything, there's really 2 places, but I love this start here and going to the Success Academy. The Success Academy is where if you want to know about just getting your system set up, right? Your account setup is right here. And then common projects, such as building a course or community. So this is going to be your vaults, your online classes, etc. You've got some common projects here. If you would like to take one of our courses, this is a really great place to start. How to build your online course is a bunch of baby bite-sized steps. We begin with a full breakdown of sort of what the naming convention is of these different features in AttractWell and how they work in different ways to serve your different purposes, whether it's an online course, a community, a membership, a group program, private client dashboard, etc. And we show you how, with those different examples, to set that up piece by piece inside of this course. And you can also get help from a live person. You can use any of the options that are here. And then we do have live training replays here. So the call that we're on now will eventually go into this list, and you can actually search for that here. And then finally, this little question mark can take you to help articles. So if we want to learn about a landing page, then we can actually search for landing page and see a quick article on what they are and how they work, as well as some basics on how you might set one up. So definitely take advantage of those 2 resources. And of course, if you want some live support, we've got lots of options for that, including this call. So we're really, really glad that you were here today, and we hope that you'll come back. All right, so there's a question here. I use HIPAA compliant form from JotForm. Could you embed forms in the same way as the booking page? Yes, if there is a booking form, then you can embed it. Yes, so if that is a calendar booking form, if they give you a code that embeds onto a website, you can embed it here. So let me see, can we send a test email directly from saved replies? Oh, that's a cool wish list idea.
It is, yeah. I think right now you have to go test it out and write an email to yourself or something.
Yeah, so you would just go to your, here, I'll show you a really quick workflow for this. So you would close out of the help center, which is here. So you'll go to, we'll find your contact. And just pretend like you're sending an email. The other thing that you could do, actually from your dashboard, it's even faster. So click to send an email, text, or app notification. One message, look for yourself by name. Write an email, find that saved reply, and you can type to find it now. So there's the newsletter, and then you can send preview right here. So that is currently the best way to get that done. Awesome. Thank you guys so much for all of your great questions. If you have something that you would like to learn about, let us know. If you haven't seen an answer to your question yet in our library or in our content on our YouTube channels, our replays, we are thrilled to get together and create content to help you answer your unique questions that fit your unique business. So we look forward to being back here same time next week. Hope you guys have a great one. Till then, take care.